do the intro or shall I?
I will, you know what? You can go first and then I'll just roll from there.
All right. No, I want this one. Welcome, everyone. This is Doing Your Own Thing, how to make a nationally recognized fighting title with Khadine Kazi. This class will run until 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This class is being recorded and will be available on YouTube at a later date. Take it away, Kazi.
All right, so first off, if you guys hear the sounds of small children in the background, that's because I have small children and they're in the background. So, you know, that's how that works. I am Kazi. Let's see, introduce myself. I've been in the game since about 2001, fight out of Iowa, out of Nan-Bellagorn, although I've been all around Iowa. And the reason that I'm doing this, tonight I want to talk about titles in the game, and my experience with Khadine and getting Khadine restarted and other things that I've seen with other titles in the game, Headhunter and things like that. Basically, I've been thinking about doing something like this for a while, either, you know, getting on one of the podcasts people do, or just writing up a blog post or something. Because a couple of years ago, I kind of went through this whole process and I started a fighting title, and it has stuck, and people like know it and whatever. And I had some things that I learned along the way, and some things that I noticed, and I've wanted to basically just pass on what I learned about how you can do that, how you can go through this process and try to make it stick. How to make a title that people know and they recognize, and that it sticks around. You know, we often hear when you get into the game, you hear about the big titles. Knights, of course, the biggest one, right? But not everybody wants to be a knight, and not everybody can be Khadine. Maybe you're not a goblin. You should be, obviously, but maybe you're not. And or maybe you can't be like Headhunter or War Master, or maybe you just don't want to be. Maybe you want to you know, do your own thing. That's what people say. You know, on the boards you see it all the time. People say, "Well, I don't want to. I kind of want to do my own thing." Well, that's a great thought, but how do you do it? How do you do your own thing? So, I wanted to talk about that. Before I get into it too much, so I'm going to be talking mostly about Khadine and what I did with that. But I just want to say, just to be clear, you know, and give props to the people who deserve it. Khadine predates me. I didn't start it. I did set it up in its current state, but not its original. The original title was started by Kudzu and Izareth in 1998. And it was Kudzu was the first to do it, and is the first Khadine. I'm the second. But the title lapsed after that, and became basically a goblin legend that we always talked about, you know, bringing back Khadine and all this sort of stuff. The trials, the original Khadine trials, actually became the Headhunter trials. If you ever see or watch the Headhunter token trials or whatever, the Headhunter tokens were originally the Khadine token trials from when Kudzu did it. So when I went to restart Khadine, I was basically starting fresh because, you know, we couldn't use those because they're taken, and you know, no one knew the title. So mad respect to Kudzu and Izzy for doing Khadine first, but I'm going to talk about my experience with Khadine, which was basically restarting it after the hiatus. So, all right. If you are watching this thinking that you may want to start a title, or if you're watching it later, not live, thinking that you might start a title, first thing I want to say is this: what's your purpose, and who is it for, right? If you want to start a title and it's for you and your friends at your local realm, like whatever, then you don't have to listen to another thing I say, because whatever. What should you do? The answer is whatever you want to do. Like, doesn't matter. God bless, go have fun, and whatever you do is absolutely fine. What I'm trying to talk about is, what if your goal is to make a title that like everybody knows? And not everybody knows Khadine, but like if you want to try to make a title that you're going to run into people at events and you don't know them and you've never met them, but they know your title and they may not even know that you are a whatever, but they've heard of your title. So like get it nationally recognized. What do you have to do? Because it's not simple. And there are some things you can do to give yourself a chance to actually be successful at it. And this doesn't have to be fighting. I think a lot of the stuff that I learned would apply to other things. If you're thinking of making a non-con title, or like based off of either crafting or a performance, like performance art, or like storytelling or anything, I think it's relevant. I think a lot of this stuff is relevant. Okay, so first thing is, and so this is a little blunt, but it's just kind of true. How do you get people to know and care about your title? First off, no one cares on a national level about how inspired your idea is, or how cool the lore is behind it, or how cool the name of it is, or anything like that. Like I might, like Kazi might, because I'm into this sort of stuff. But in general, people don't care about how cool your idea is. What they care about is, is it being pushed by people they know? Have they heard, like, who is telling them about it? Okay. Have they heard of the people involved? And the point is, Belagarth is very much about relationships, okay, and interpersonal relationships. It's a small community, but it's incredibly busy. Just think for a second about real life Battle for the Ring or Oktoberfest. Those things are crazy. There is stuff going on all over the place. Everybody has a place to be. If you want to get people to come and do your thing and sacrifice their time for your thing, then the person asking them to do it, you got to know them. Like if a random person comes up to you and you do not know them, you've never heard of them, and they ask you to do a thing and you're at Fest and you're busy, you're probably not gonna. But if a friend of yours says, hey, you want to come do a thing with me? Somebody's doing a title, doing a trial, you want to come be in it with me? Well, if it's someone they know, if it's someone they've heard of, if it's someone they're friends with, then they're going to be likely to do it. So in order to make a title go big, you've got to either leverage your own personal connections with other people, either have those connections yourself, or know people who have those connections as well. So when I went to start Khadine, I had a lot of connections with people myself, which I could use. One second. So I could, contact people and be like, you know what, could you help me out with the thing? Could you run a trial for me? Basically, that's what I was doing all the time. I was always calling people to be like, or messaging people like, could you run a trial for me? And since hopefully they knew me, they would be willing to do it, right? But beyond that, even if I didn't know them, I knew people who did. For example, it's like, hey, Fox, could you get a group of people together to run a trial for me? And he got people who I didn't know and wouldn't have done it for me, but they would do it for Fox, right? Or I contacted people at the BOF and said, hey, could you put this together for me? And they may not have done it for me, but they did it for their friends, right? So you have to work your personal connections when you're setting this stuff up, okay? Either yours or the people you know, okay? Now, what that means is you don't have to be well known in the game, but someone involved in setting up the title does need to be well known and does need to have connections. You can be the ideas person in the background, but someone has got to know people, okay? It's not going to happen. So basically, to wrap that up, you have to have already established a little bit of credibility before you can start a title. And that shouldn't be necessarily surprising because you're going to be lending your credibility and the credibility of the people working with you to that title. So you've got to have some, right? Or else people won't take it seriously. All right. Next point. So the first thing is personal connections. Second point is visibility. If you're going to start a title, it has to be done in the open. It has to be where everybody can see it and everybody can watch it and everybody can say, what's that? Oh, that's a Khadine trial. What's a Khadine? Oh, it's this. I heard it's that. You have to be out in the open, okay? You can't be doing this back in your camp. You can't be doing this at like at night when no one's there, right? You have to be participating in the open, whether it's a fighting trial or a performance or like whatever, non-com things. You got to be out there. You've got to be in front of people, all right? The way I tried to go about that is I did a lot of the Khadine trials on the field, like field fighting, right? That we would be involved in. Or I would contact people directly and have them get their unit involved, right? I'll hit that a little bit later. So first, personal connections. Second, visibility. Second, third, promotion, okay? You gotta be ready to play the politics game with this, okay? Like, a lot of this isn't fun, right? It's not fun, but like it's work, okay? And the blunt reality of it is people will pay attention to you if they know you, and they'll listen to people and they will know about it if you tell them about it. So you have got to get out there in all the forums that there are, whatever that is. Like when I was doing Khadine, it was getting out in front of all of my unit pages, relentlessly talking about it on the discussion pages that are out on Facebook. Sometimes putting up like flyers at the at Troll and things like that. You got to promote it. You got to sell it. All right. You're being a salesperson for your title. So sell it, try to make what you're doing interesting and understandable. Like, have something that you're doing be like a real attention getter, right? Something that's just really pure and simple and like gets people's attention. For Khadine, that was the Reaving trial, right? It was, okay, the trial is you go out on the field, you fight every single battle, you can't skip any, you count your kills, and you have to get over 300 to pass. Now, I didn't know what the proper number was at first. My number was 99, but it turns out that's too low. Got to go higher, got to pump those numbers up, right? So it ended up being something like 300 is the current number, right? But let's think about this title or this trial. It's visible, right? You're on the field all day, right? And people can be talking about it, noticing what you're doing, like seeing it. It's understandable, right? I can explain Reaving in like a couple sentences. Fight all day, count your kills, get as many as possible. And I was like, oh, okay, I get that. Now, some of the trials we do are really complicated and you can see them and they're cool, but they involve different lives and different weapons that you have to use. But this is simple, right? It's very pure. And it also has a very dramatic effect coming out of it. We can, that makes it easy to promote, right? Maybe you've seen some of the things that I'll post after our Reaving, because remember, you got to promote this stuff. Even once the trial started, I always promote everybody's trials, no matter what. It doesn't stop, okay? You got to keep going. It'd be congratulations to, Shy for getting 446 kills in a day or whatever he did at Battle for the Ring a couple years ago. People get that, right? They see that and they're like, he did what? And it makes the title look good, right? And so it's visible, it's understandable, and people get it. And it's something you can promote easily, right? You can say, he did this, Tonberry did this, Kalika did this. Okay. Final thing, and I've alluded to this, include as many people as possible. Go through your whole friends list, like get everybody involved, okay? Because when you get involved with a title, you're vested in it, right? Oh, and by the way, people, you got any questions, just like drop them in the chat or like unmute, or if you come, like, I'm not gonna fill this hour, right? Probably not. So ask whatever you want. Anyways, yeah, involving people. This is a real trick. And this is where you're using psychology on people. The second you participate in a thing, you almost automatically think it's cool. Like oh yeah, I did that. Yeah, like if you think about headhunters or Knight's Trials or Crossroads, like Khadine Crossroads, Headhunter Crossroads, Night Trials, these big things that involve a lot of people. If you fought in someone's Knight's Trial, you, even without thinking, probably kind of respect that person, like, because in a way you gave validity to them, right? And you feel a little bit of ownership, like, to that title, right? So it's a very good idea to get your title out in front of as many people as possible and give them a chance to participate, okay? Participate in it. Watch it, judge it, fight in it, whatever it is. And you can do that in a couple ways. You can have either these big kind of like open invite things, like a Khadine Crossroads is open invite. As many people can fight as one. And sometimes we get 70, 80 people, whatever, fighting that. That's great. It's not great for the person in it, but whatever, they'll just deal. It's great for the people who are, who are watching, and it's great for the title because you have all these people who have now been in it, right? And we'll go tell other people about it. Oh, or like if it comes up, oh, I saw Tonberry got Khadine. It's like, oh yeah, I fought in that. Yeah, it was pretty cool. She was really good. She tore it up, right? So like now you build it up, right? Whatever your title is, like now you have dozens of advocates all over the country willing to put in a good word for what you did, right? The other way you do that, other than just making it so that people can participate in your thing, is it goes back to that first one, working your contacts, right? Get as many groups involved as possible. When I go to set, like when I first went to do Khadine first, now it doesn't matter quite so much, but I got as many I basically had all these different trials, like 6 different fighting trials, and I gave them each to a different person or group, right? Let's see, Brotherhood ran one of them, Horde ran one of them, Fox ran one of them, but he was supposed to get people from all sorts of different, like, it was a pairs thing, like supposed to be like really good pairs. So he got a pair from Numenor, he got a pair from the EBF, he got some pairs from Amir and whatever. So by the time my trials were done, this title had been put in front of the Amir, the EBF, the BOF, the Realm of Dirtamarian, all of the Horde, etc. Right? All these people had been told about it, not by me, but by, their friends who did it, right? So they maybe would have seen me typing and like going on, like doing my little sales pitch online, but then they also would have heard about it from their friends who participated, right? Or their unit mate would have come on their forums and been like, hey, we're supposed to design a trial for Kazi. What for? It's Khadine, some goblin bullshit. I don't know. And so like but now they know, right? And like you continue to do this. Like I would contact like for Shy, like the Valkyries did one, EBF did one, Western Horde did one. Like, uh yeah. Like you reach out to people, right? And you get them involved, right? Now, this is where you have to know them, right? They're not going to do it for you if they don't know you. Because, like, you're asking them a favor and they're going to have to put some work in. And they're not necessarily going to be happy with you for asking them, but maybe they'll do it anyways, just because, go way back. Do me a favor. Do me a favor, buddy. All right. So, those are as far as like starting a title and like making it stick, those are my suggestions. Make sure that you have those personal connections, make sure you use them, make sure it's visible. If you do it in secret, no one knows about it. Okay. So you got to be out there. If you're becoming a knight, you don't have to worry about that. Everybody knows what a knight is, right? So like it can be off screen, right? And if in the end you go out there and you do your trial, like everybody knows it. But if you're trying to start something, you can't be off screen. You got to be up in front of people and like selling it. You got to promote it and get people involved, right? So second part is the roles. You don't have to do this alone. You don't have to do this alone. In fact, it's probably easier to have people on board, right? Either if it's going to be helping you plan it and like make it in background or run trials, or also there can be multiple people involved in the actual creation, okay? And I'm going to describe a couple roles that need to be filled, all right? And the three roles are the face, the first, and the proof, okay? The face is going to be the person who is going to go out and do all that talking, right? Approach people about running trials, promote it online, being the person who's someone walks up and say, "What's this?" Face, go. Tell them this is the bard. Okay, you got to have a bard in your party. You got to have someone with charisma, someone who doesn't mind talking. All right. Now, this does not have to be the person doing the actual fighting or whatever your title is about, if it's a non-com title. You just need to have your hype guy, your hype person, all right? Your hype goblin, whatever it is. You need to have someone who's out there, willing to talk it up, okay? For me, that was me. I was the face. But like for Headhunter, Izareth was the face, right? Izareth was the one who like bleeds charisma, just like it just flows off of him. And so he was out there talking to everybody and talking up Headhunter, like back in the day. But he wasn't the one doing the fighting, okay? It doesn't have to be, but you need to have someone who's going to be the face. All right, the next role you need is your first, okay? The first person who's going to do your thing. And the first is tricky because when you're starting a title, it works backwards in this way. Normally, people get titles and achieve titles in order to get a certain amount of recognition and a certain amount of like gravitas, whatever, right? You get a title, and now that title lends credence to you. That doesn't work the first time. It goes opposite. The first person to get it has to lend credence to the title, okay? So that means the first person to get your title has to already deserve it, has to have already earned it, and already be established, okay? It cannot be some up and coming young gun, brilliant talent, whatever, even if they're good enough at performance, at fighting, at whatever, They can't be the first. Because it has to be a situation where you see the first person get it and you already know them and know they deserve it. Like Headhunter. The first Headhunter was Nanga. All right. And a lot of people today don't know Nanga. But back then, everybody knew Nanga. Nanga had been around forever. He was an established fighter. He was amazing, and everyone knew it. So when Nanga became Headhunter, he gave respect to the title of Headhunter, right? So the first person to do your thing has got to be already known, right? At least ideally they need to be. Now, I was the face, the one doing all the talking. I was also the first. I was not the best like goblin fighter at the time. I wasn't even as good as I used to be, right? But I had been around long enough that it was like believable, right? Like when I got the title, people bought it. They were like, oh, okay, I've heard of him. Like, I suppose that's legit, right? Um, so yeah, like if you're starting a title, someone's got to talk and someone's got to do it. And the first person who does it, it's got to be well known. So maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, shoot, like I'm not well known, like people don't know me, so how am I going to start my title? Well, either you go out and you grind and you get well known and then you do your thing, or you recruit someone, right? You can be the ideas person and you recruit someone who is well known and can take and can do it first, right? Now, the final role that I have here is not quite as critical as the first two, at least for establishing it, but it is pretty critical for the long-term success, and that is the proof, right? This is that person or persons who comes in and like really like shows it to everybody. Like they're just that good, right? And they make it so that everyone knows what this title is, fighting or not. For the headhunters, it was Bakhtar, right? Bakhtar was at the time that he became a headhunter, and Bakhtar no longer claims the title, but he was Nanga got it first, and then Bakhtar and Davitt did it together second, and Davitt was incredible, but Bakhtar was at the time like literally the best fighter in the game, right? And when Bakhtar went out and did Headhunter, and he did some crazy things in those trials, and Izzy made sure that they were out there, they were visible, everyone was involved. Izareth did it first, okay? Like everything I'm talking about, what I started to notice as I was doing Khadine is I started to realize that like what I was doing that was successful was stuff that he had done that was successful too. Bakhtar proved it, okay? And he made it so that everyone knew what Headhunter was. And he gave legitimacy to the title. For me, it was Shy and Tonberry who came after me, right? They did it kind of simultaneously next. And by the time I was done doing it myself, I had basically opened the door and people kind of knew, like, and then they threw it wide open, right? And that was sort of what happened with Headhunter 2. Like, Nanga did it first, and people noticed and like, well, that was cool. And then Bakhtar and Davitt did it, and they just threw the door wide open, and everyone knew, right? So the three roles, then you've got the face, the first, and the proof. The proof can be the first. Theoretically, it could be one person who's just like some charismatic prodigy who everyone probably secretly is incredibly jealous of, who is like both the most charismatic and the best and the whatever, and they can just go out there and just make their own thing. Most of us are going to need to recruit a little bit of a gang to follow all of these, to fill all these roles. Several people who are going to get in on this. Because once you've done it, even if you do it once, that's not enough. You got to replicate, right? In the end, you do all these things, or you do your own stuff and it works just as well, and you make your own title and everybody knows it, and like everybody is aware of it. If you don't continue the title, it'll die and people will forget. Belagarth has about 5-year generations. A generation in Belagarth is about 5 years. So if you are not renewing people's interest and continually going out and refreshing it periodically over time, die off, right? So you've got to have those people who come after you to carry the torch, right? I wonder if people have any questions now. That was like my core points that I might summarize a bit. But does anyone have any questions either to drop in the chat or ask in person? This is what we call in teaching wait time.
Soroku said, "Thank you so much. I look forward to continuing this once it's posted." He left to go to the peerage meeting.
Yes. Yes.
But anyone else have questions?
I'll throw one out for participation.
Sure.
So for titles that have already started but may have missed some of these points, like if you started with a bad first maybe, or you started and something happened and the title was tarnished, do you have any reputation fixes or ideas for like repairing titles?
Basically, you can pretend that you're starting fresh, because Khadine was not a new title. It had been done years before, but people weren't really like well aware of it. So you can always just sort of start over, right? And basically say, hey, we're going to do this. And then you like go down, you promote it, you get people involved and start over. Did you have anything particularly in mind?
Not particularly. I mean, I guess specifically, yeah, there's a racial title within Knowles that I was thinking about that started and kind of flopped a little bit, and I wasn't involved directly in the creation and running of it, but I was kind of tangential to it, so I was kind of hoping to pass along some advice to the runners of that title.
Yeah, just start over. Just like same names, same title, whatever, but just pretend that nobody knows about it and just like push it just the same you would if you had just come up with it. Because remember, like I didn't come up with Khadine. It's just that, you know, it was not known. There's a lot, and like honestly, it's kind of cooler sometimes to take something that's like existing out there and kind of like bring it back.
Yeah, there's the relic factor you get.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
Question from chat from Quinn. A lot of examples provided focused on combat titled, Khadine, Headhunter, etc. Do you have any suggestions / examples for non-com titles?
Right. So this is where I get embarrassed or a little awkward. But so I also did this with Witch Doctor. And I could have given a talk about Witch Doctor too. It's just that Khadine was more like top of mind for me because I did Witch Doctor a long time ago. But very similarly, Witch Doctor was one of the original things that came out of like the first Goblins long time ago. Like Isreth was the Goblin King, Kudzu was the Khadine, and Scrade was the Witch Doctor, right? And so a long time ago, 2005, something like that, I wanted to do something with Witch Doctor. And so with non-com, it's basically the same in the following ways. It's got to be visible. And that's especially true. Witch Doctor is a storytelling, lore-making title, right? First thing you have to realize is that with Belagarth in its current iteration, we're not the SEA, right? We are growing ever so steadily as far as people caring about arts and sciences and stuff like that, but we're very fighting focused. You have to understand that the people who care are going to care and a lot of people won't, right? You are going to a smaller audience, but that doesn't mean that it's not like I'm just as proud of being a witch doctor as I am of being a Khadine, right? Because like to me it matters, and to the people who come to this stuff it matters to them too. But you make it visible, right? That's even more important because if it's a fighting title, you can like tell them like, oh, they did XYZ, and that might be impressive, right? But if it's a storytelling title or a crafting title or something like that, it's got to be seen, right? Now that's easier now because when I was doing Witch Doctor, literally like it was like we didn't have like the people who were taking video at events were like the like professional photographers, right? But now you can videotape your stuff. You can put it out there. And if it's crafting, especially so, you know, you can like, look at this beautiful thing. People love to see the beautiful stuff that people make, right? So you make it visible and you promote it, right? Those are the two important things. You've got to make it visible. You've got to do it in front of people. You've got to put it out in front of people. And then you've got to promote it. Say, this is a beautiful thing that was made because they did X. They are a master X, and this is what they made. Like, honestly, I think a lot about the like master system in Belagarth. They should promote it more, and I should, because I think I'm somewhat involved in that. I'm not really sure, actually. Full disclosure, I'm not really sure how involved. Like, I'm sort of like maybe part of the chroniclers or something, but I don't know.
The Chroniclers Guild is kind of like our youngest child in the guild.
Yeah, yeah,
They're the least what's the word I'm searching for? Proactive of, and one of the least visible of
yeah.
the guilds that we have so far.
Right.
Artificer Guild is kind of like the eldest child that says, look at me, I've got all this stuff that I'm doing. And
Right.
the
And
other,
they've got so much to promote, you know? They'd be like, look at this beautiful tunic. Look at this amazing armor. Look at this like amazing XYZ. So yeah, looking through the list here, personal connections are always going to be important. Getting people involved, and then just the visibility and promotion if it's non-con. You betcha, Quinn. All right. Anything else? You know, if you look at stuff like, you know, War Master, there's some similarities there too. Like, especially as far as like, you know, like being the first, like the first War Master was Sumatai. You know, perfect example. Like when Sumatai says he's a War Master, everyone's like, sure, sounds great. Like you're Sumatai, you can be whatever you say you are, and whatever you say you are, I'm going to respect it, right? So that was a good example of a great first, right? Sumatai with War Master. So you do see this stuff out there a lot. Other questions? Well, you're a beautiful audience. Even though Triv's the only person who actually let me see him. Hi, Triv. Everyone else, you're gorgeous black. Arjun.
Honestly, let's be real. You're the beautiful one here.
Well, how is anyone to know? Because everyone else is invisible. See, look at Arjun is just looking so fresh right now. Got that fresh cut. Boy. Shake your head at me. Well, and now I am no longer the best looking in this chat. Hello, this young gentleman here. What do we got here? He's holding something up.
He's showing you his kitties that he's drawing.
You know what? I love cats, so thrilled to see them.
And my name's Connor. I'm 5 years old.
Look at you.
I'm going to turn 6 soon.
Well,
Yeah, my little monster babe.
well, thanks for giving me the time.
Hey, no problem, Kazi. I'm
Most
glad you got
welcome.
to hear about this.
It was a pleasure. So that'll be posted somewhere someday.
Yes, this will be posted on YouTube, either on the Guild channel. More information will be pending.
Sweet.
So I'm going to stop the recording right there. Thank you, Kazi, for your wonderful class. The next class will be Lore and Storytelling within Belagarth with Dagger, and that will start about 5 minutes after 4 p.m. Pacific time.